Hello and welcome to AnimEH, the Canadian-flavored anime podcast. My name is Justin Ashley, and joining me is my co-host, Johnny Liscombe.
How's it going?
It is going, Johnny, and I am very excited to talk about what we're talking about today. I challenged you for this one. We're not doing just so folks, if you're expecting us to do like summer anime 2023, because the last episode we covered the spring 2023 block of anime. This podcast is completely different. I gave you a challenge for this anime.
And a challenge it was.
Yes. Sorry, I said for this anime, for this podcast, I gave you a challenge because I thought we should do more of a themed episode. Because the thing is, if we only did like spring, summer, fall, and winter, we'd only have 4 fucking podcasts a year, you know?
Yeah, there wouldn't be much to look forward to.
Right, there wouldn't be much content, right? So, we talked about it and we were like, all right, we're going to have themed episodes where we come up with specific topics and go from there and hopefully generate some interesting dialogue out of it. So this is not going to be reviews. This is not going to be about shit that we just watched. This is very specific. So, the question that I had for you, the challenge I had for you, was I asked you to come up with a list of 5 animes that you think would work well as a live action adaptation.
Yeah, I did my best.
That's a hard one. That's because as you know, most live action anime fucking sucks. That's how I feel. Do you?
I don't have very strong opinions about live actions.
Right. They don't quite work well for anime.
I've yet to find one that I've enjoyed.
I can't think of a single one. I can think of a lot that I didn't. Oh, okay. Maybe I can think of one I can think of maybe 1 or 2 that aren't bad.
Okay.
But very few are good. And very few are great. We can agree on this.
Yeah.
For the most part, they're just not what you want them to be. Yeah. And
that's fair.
And they end up coming out pretty, I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? Cheesy. Like they just look phony and just weird, you know? They come across as fucking fan films is what they end up looking like, you know? It doesn't seem to matter what the budget is. Live action animes just don't seem to really work. So the challenge was for both of us. So I did this too. It's not just you. We both had to come up with 5 anime picks that we thought would work well as a live action. So it could be now I should preface, could be a film, could be an anime TV show. Did you pick any anime movies just out of curiosity?
So I didn't actually pick any movies, but I picked some that I think would maybe be good as movies.
Okay, so that's actually one of my questions. So before we get into it, I'm curious. I know what I went off of. What was your criteria for like how you picked what animes you picked that you thought would be good as live action? Like what were you looking for, or what were you not looking for in the show?
So I didn't really have specific criteria.
Okay.
More so what I was looking at was, as I've stated, I don't really have very strong opinions of live action anime.
For good reason.
So I just kind of thought of titles I didn't think would suck.
Okay. So it was more like gut feeling?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. I went very specific. So I was looking for stuff that was grounded and realistic, so less like fantastical. So like no guys that can fly, no ki blasts, no energy aura bullshit. Basically nothing that's shonen for the most part.
Yeah, just playing it safe.
Right. I went for more, like safer things that I thought when they made the translation from animation to live action wouldn't look goofy and silly. So I tried to keep it grounded and more realistic, like more like seinen type stuff. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would require minimal CGI, because that's a big problem with animation is when you try to make it live action, like take something like Naruto or Bleach, where you've got these fantastical abilities that literally create demons and create like creatures and forms and illusions and shit. Like all that would have to be CG. You couldn't really do that practically.
Yeah.
And so that was a big thing for me. Was I was trying to make picks that wouldn't require you to do that. So the majority of the live action adaptation could be done in camera or done practically, which I thought would allow them or help them to be much better quality.
Yeah.
Overall. Here's another big one. Does not have ridiculous costumes to avoid the cosplay look. So anything too far outside the real world. Do you know what I mean by that when I say like the cost? Like, because most anime, I think we can agree, the characters don't look like people from the real world.
Yeah, that's accurate.
I mean, your fucking favorite anime of all time, goddamn One Piece. I mean, what the fuck is going on? Like, the character designs are just madness.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Right, but you know what I mean? Like, they don't really look like people in our world. They like what anime characters, for the most part, wear exaggerated. They have ridiculous hairstyles, ridiculous clothing.
Yeah,
their whole style is just complete nonsense.
Oh, and their body proportions are insane.
Well, and that's another issue. So I tried to avoid animes that had very fantastical looking characters that would be difficult to adapt. Like something like Dragon Ball, when they tried it once and it was shit. That would be very difficult to actually make look good.
Yeah.
Like, you would have to change it so much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how... Take somebody like, I don't know, like a character like Frieza. Like, that's not going to not look goofy. You know what I mean? Having a guy or a girl dress up in that, it's going to look like a high-quality cosplay because it's so outside of reality that I don't think you could do it well. So, I tried to pick shows that weren't like that. And to be clear, all of my picks are actually TV shows. So you didn't pick any movies to adapt, neither did I. Or did you? Yeah, right? Because you said you don't. None of yours.
Let me double check.
Yeah, okay. So all of mine are TV shows that I thought would work well, but I didn't pick any movies. But we could have.
They're all TV shows.
Yeah. Okay. Then this is another thing. I was trying to look for. Okay, so we talk about live action animes, right? And I mean, the question is, why do it at all? Like, Netflix right now is spending millions of fucking dollars on trying to make a whole category, right, for live action. And we're going to get to that in a second. We're going to get to the one, specifically, what started all this was the One Piece live action trailer came out, and I then wanted to talk to you about it, and I thought, well, this would be a good topic for the podcast. So Netflix is they're throwing millions of dollars hundreds of millions from what I've read, at creating a new category on their streaming site of live action anime. And so many companies, like, there's been talk about the next gold rush of genres for the film industry, and anime is definitely a big one. Because you think about all those properties, all those stories already written, all those built-in audiences, if they can pull it off, that's a fucking gold mine for those studios. They're going to have content for decades, I mean, look at comic books, right? So, I mean, like comic books, they pulled it off, and that created a whole super genre in film. So if they were to do it for anime, they're going to make a fuck ton of money. So I get why they're doing it, but what I was trying to find was, rather than just do it for the money, and because you can do it, I wanted picks that would actually benefit from being live action. So it actually would, it might improve it, or it might, like, you could actually, it would be worthwhile doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not just a cash grab, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really important here, because like so many of these anime adaptations that these live action animes they make, they're just fucking cash grabs. Like, why else do them? Like, they look goofy. Nobody really wants them. So why is Netflix? Why do them at all? Right? I mean, that's what I always like. That's for me. That's always the question with when I see like trailers for shit like One Piece and fucking Full Metal Alchemist on Netflix and this shit. It's like, why even bother doing it? Like, who is asking for this? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I get why they're doing it, but
I wish they'd do it a little better.
I mean, that's what we're here, right? That's what we're here for. We're going to try to give them some ideas that they can use to actually produce some good content. So, couple questions that I'm going to ask. Actually, wait, I'll hold off on that. Okay, so I've got a couple questions for you, but I'm going to hold off on that. Let's talk about what started this whole discussion. What did you think of the Netflix One Piece? No, before we even get to the chart, what did you think when you heard that they were doing a live action Netflix or live action One Piece show?
Well, my first question was why?
Right. And I mean, the obvious answer is money because, I mean, obviously, right? But you're a fan. Like, you're an actual fan of One Piece, right?
Yeah.
So do you want this?
Well, I mean, not really.
Right.
I didn't see the point in making a show where the cast will die before they finish recording it.
Right. I mean, okay, so that's a good point because, okay, so One Piece has how many episodes?
1,071.
Right. So obviously they're not going to do all that, so they're going to have to pare it down, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter how big this is. No TV show is going to be popular enough. There's no way the live action version, they wouldn't even be able to spend the money to make that many episodes live action. It would cost billions to produce that. So that's never going to happen. So they're going to have to pare down the story. So do you want that? Like, does that sound enticing to shorten it?
Well, I mean, they sort of already did that with the anime, right? They made episode of East Blue, which summarized the first I think 60-ish episodes.
Okay, I mean, that's a good point, that animes sometimes have to cut out things from the manga because most animes come from the source material for the anime. It's not like the anime is just completely original. They have a source material, which is the manga series, right?
Yeah.
And One Piece is manga is I guess way longer even than the show, right?
And I'm not 100% sure. I think they're pretty close, number of chapters to number of episodes.
Well, because how long is? Because I know a big thing was Gear 5 just debuted in the anime. Yes.
Yeah. Literally.
I saw this in the news. This was huge.
I watched that episode this morning.
You were? Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But hasn't he been Gear 5 in the manga for ages now?
I think a little over a year, yeah.
Okay. So, but I mean, the manga always is further ahead than the anime, right? Because it takes so much more time to produce an animated, an anime, an actual show compared to drawing it.
Yeah.
I guess is the way to say it, not to diminish manga artists, but it doesn't take as long to do that than it does to animate the show, right?
Yeah.
So I accept that they often would have if you're gonna when they do an anime, I get you're gonna have to trim the fat a little bit on the manga. I get that. Okay, that's fine. But they're two very different pieces of media. You can have, I find they work really well together. I don't think you need one over the other in that case. But when you go to live action, it feels unnecessary. It's you went one step further. And to your point about One Piece, you're adapting something that has so many million episodes, and you're going to have to cut it down significantly.
Yeah.
And that prospect, as a One Piece fan, which has, there's a million characters in fucking One Piece, right?
1,000,002.
Right. So does that prospect excite you? No, you're you don't want that, right?
That's a lot of positions to fill.
Right. That's part of the problem is they're going to have to cut it down so much. They'll probably just cut characters out completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it's safe to say when you found out that they were doing this, you weren't excited at all.
Not a little bit.
You didn't give a shit.
Not in the slightest.
So who the fuck are they making this for? If the One Piece fan doesn't want this, who is this for? I guess is my question. Is this for housewives that don't know, that are just they have no idea what anime is and they're bored at home and they're I'll just watch something? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Who is this being made for?
That's a very good question.
Right.
And I wish I could answer it for you.
Okay, so what did you think when what is the creator of One Piece?
Oda.
Okay. He just has one name? He's Seal?
So I don't want to mess up the pronunciation.
Of his first name?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to bring it up on Google and then butcher it?
Yeah, go nuts.
Yeah, okay. So what did you think when you found out the creator was involved?
I was a little more excited. He's not going to let his baby die, you know?
Now, you say that. Okay, I just brought up his name here. His name is Ichiro Oda. Ichiro? That doesn't seem that complicated to say.
Yeah, but, if I stumble over my words...
Right. I guess you don't want to take the blame if you say it wrong, so you'd rather I said it wrong.
Yes,
so
exactly.
that people could shred me in the comments.
I cannot butcher that god's name.
That God, such words. I will point out, okay, so he's apparently involved, right? And I hear what you just said. They're not going to let him butcher it. Did you watch the Cowboy Bebop anime?
No.
Or, sorry, anime. Sorry, have you seen the Cowboy? You haven't seen Cowboy Bebop yet.
Not at all.
No, so you're not a huge fan of Bebop. But you haven't seen the live, so you also haven't seen the live action bullshit that Netflix put out.
No.
That was instantly fucking canceled after the first season. It was unequivocally one of the worst live action adaptations I've seen of an anime. It is also one of the few that I got somewhat hopeful about that it might be half decent because the creator Watanabe was involved in it.
Yeah.
And that one turned to shit. So just because the creator's involved doesn't mean dick, in my opinion. Because it's like, he's not going to be there, like, watching the whole production the entire time. I'm assuming this guy's a busy... Like, he's not going to have the time, you know what I mean? He's not the fucking director of the show.
Yeah.
So, like, to what level is he actually involved, do you think?
Did make them reshoot a couple of scenes.
I heard about this. I still wonder, though. Okay, so all that said, you weren't excited... Then you actually watched it. What did you think?
Honestly, it wasn't that bad. I mean, there were some characters I feel like could have been, I'll say designed a little better. It's not really the right word.
You mean the casting? Like who they cast?
So not so much the casting, their costumes.
Their costumes, which... that was on my list. We're talking about, like, you're adapting a fantastical show. You have to ground it a little bit so it plays realistic when you actually film it, right? If you're going to have people in costumes, you're going to have to downplay the nonsense that is One Piece in terms of, like, costuming.
Yeah.
So who specifically didn't you like?
I kind of wish they got Sanji's eyebrows.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
He literally has a twirly eyebrow.
Oh, okay.
Not in the live action.
But they didn't do it.
No, they didn't.
I don't know what you're specifically referring to, but because I am obviously not a One Piece fan, but I would say that probably was a smart decision to not have a twirly eyebrow because human beings don't have that. But that's just my opinion. Because don't you think that would read as a little goofy if they were to actually do that?
A little bit.
Why does he have that? That's just like natural?
Yeah, and like his whole family has it.
Okay, so it's just a design in the anime. It's an anime thing, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that wouldn't read realistic if they were to actually do that.
Well, I mean, who am I to decide that?
Yeah. I'm defending them for them not doing that then. What about the other characters? What did you think of Luffy?
Luffy, at first, there was like a split second. I was like, I don't know. And then there was like a clip of him like thanking everyone for letting him play Luffy, and he got all emotional, and I was like, you know what? He's passionate. It's good enough for me.
Am I wrong? He seems Hispanic.
Yeah.
Is Luffy Hispanic?
He's Brazilian.
Oh, okay. So it actually makes sense. Really? I didn't know. Okay, that makes sense then, because I thought that was a little odd to me, because Luffy's design to me doesn't look Hispanic. But in the anime, I've seen clips, he doesn't sound Hispanic. Like the voice actor didn't do a Hispanic, did he?
I don't believe so.
No, he just did like a regular voice.
She didn't.
Oh, it's a woman that did it.
I've had the pleasure of meeting her.
Oh, have you actually?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, wow. You met her at like Anime North or something? Or
Fan Expo. Yeah.
Fan Expo. So, okay, so that's actually more accurate than that he's Hispanic. See, I thought that was just a bold choice. I was like, oh, wow, okay, they decided to change his ethnic background, but I guess that actually is more accurate.
Yeah. Now, don't quote me on it, but I heard rumors that Oda did actually handpick
the
actors.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I mean, I didn't recognize anybody on screen.
Yeah, me either.
I didn't recognize anybody. They all seemed like, not to be mean, but they all seemed more like no-name-ish to me.
Fresh talent.
Yeah, which I'm okay with. I am in I'm in favor of that. Like, make new people stars. I don't really like when they just recycle the same fucking actors in every project. But it definitely makes me more hesitant to. I don't know. It sounds bad saying this, but seeing all just people I don't recognize. I don't know the acting chops. I don't know to what level they're going to be. I don't know if they're going to be quite up to snuff, I guess is what I'm saying.
That's fair.
But I mean, for the acting that they're going to have to do, I don't know that what level they're actually going to need. What did you think of, like, okay, so continuing on, you said some of the costuming looked off to you. You said the actors overall though looked pretty good?
More or less, yeah.
What do you think of Nami?
Looks a little bit old.
Yeah, she didn't quite look right to me. But I mean, I'm not a true fan, so I don't really feel I have the right to criticize how they look. Like, to me, they all looked a bit goofy. Like, I think the whole thing looked goofy as shit. I mean, personally, I don't think it looks good live action. I think it's a good example of an anime not to adapt live action. I think One Piece is way too fucking fantastical to rein in as a live action adaptation. I think it's just a CG fest. I thought the trailer looked bad. I didn't think it looked good at all. Like, I have zero interest in watching it. It didn't make me want to watch it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Did it make you want to watch it?
I'll give it a shot, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, so I actually rewatched it today in preparation.
Oh, okay. So it's fresh in your mind. I only watched it once.
But I gave it another watch over this morning, and I still don't hate it. In fact, if anything, I actually a little bit more open-minded to it.
I mean, the budget looks like it's like fucking one of the most expensive TV shows ever made. Yeah. Like, the sets are like these elaborate, ridiculous sets and all this shit, the costuming, which is just crazy. Like, Netflix is obviously throwing tons of money at this. Yeah. Doesn't mean it's going to be good.
I admire the effort.
Yeah. What did you think of the action?
There were a couple scenes I feel like could have been a little stronger.
Okay.
So there's a kick in one of the scenes Sanji does, and it kind of looks like he floats in, lands the
I know
blow,
exactly what you're talking about. It looked janky as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked janky.
So that...
But see, this is the problem when you try to adapt anime fights into reality. It doesn't quite work. Like, Dragon Ball, if you were to take something like Dragon Ball Z, where guys are doing ki blasts and teleporting and all kinds of weird techniques and shit, it would look so unnatural because that's not how human beings fight.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest you could get would be like superhero movies, right? Like Superman fighting Zod or something like that, where it's literally like gods fighting in the sky. That's basically what a Dragon Ball Z movie would have to look like.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what One Piece turns into, right? I mean, it gets that crazy and over the top,
extent,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it would have to look something like that. But ultimately, it's going to end up being a CG fest, which is why I don't think I think it's a poor choice to adapt. And I think they also announced... Do you have anything else to add about the trailer that you want
to... No, not really. I mean, I kind of agree with you.
That One Piece is a bad choice.
Just the fact that they're doing it, I'm hoping...
And that Oda's involved.
They pull it off a little bit.
There's so much money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're remaining, like, optimistic.
I don't want them to butcher my love.
Right, fair enough. Now, if it is a pile of shit, you're just going to write it off anyways, right? Like, you don't
100%.
care. Yeah, who cares? You got the... Do you prefer the manga or the anime?
I can go either or.
Fair enough. If it comes... I am going to watch it out of morbid curiosity just to be able to talk to you about it. I am certain I will hate it because I already don't like One Piece. I definitely am not going to all of a sudden fall for it in a live action form because I think it was a poor choice of an anime to adapt. I think we are going to come up with some better choices today.
I hope so.
I mean, I think I came up with some good shit. Are you confident in your picks?
I'm confident in a couple of them. I feel like a few you might actually agree with.
Okay. I'm very curious to see what you come up with. So we don't know what each other has written down. I'm going to let you take the lead on this. I'll let you start with your first pick.
Sure.
I have a couple. So for each pick, I have a couple questions for you. Okay.
All right.
So why did you think it would work well? Or what makes you think it would work well as a live action? what could the live action potentially improve on the anime? So, like, what could they add to it? Basically, to justify its existence. You know, why make it? Because the question is, why even do this? So the answer is, well, what is the reason you think like it would benefit to do this, right? And then another thing I want to know is, do you think it would work better as a TV show or a movie?
Okay.
So you could have a TV show like One Piece and say that you would like it to be you think it would work better as a film, or vice versa. So, because I'm just curious, but so I'm going to ask you that on every one of your picks here. And without further ado, what's your first pick? What do you got, John?
All right. Well, I'll start with one that you're not going to agree with.
Oh,
We'll go
goody!
with, Demon Slayer.
Oh, get the fuck out of here! How is that? Okay, I will shut up. All right.
It's like 50-50, man. Like half of it's going to be CGI, but the sword fighting will be cool.
I mean, they did Rurouni Kenshin, so I mean that's possible. So, do I even need to bring Demon Slayer up on the fucking computer here?
Everybody knows what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, for anyone that doesn't know, can you quickly summarize the plot in like fucking 2 sentences?
So basically, family is attacked. There are 2 survivors, Tanjiro and his sister Nezuko.
Right.
Nezuko's turning into a demon. Tanjiro becomes a demon slayer to avenge his family and find a cure for his sister.
So it's feudal Japan, which that would have to be the set, and it's basically like sword wielders. It's like samurai,
samurai,
but
yeah.
it's like samurai, and they're fighting demons.
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think it would work well as a live action? Let's start there before I start trying to tear this apart.
So it's not so much that I think it would work well.
Okay.
It's that I think it would be kind of cool.
Why though? What?
The sword fighting is going to be awesome. Now, I know you're going to rip it apart for the CGI.
Right, because I mean, like, that's part of the big thing of Demon Slayer is the fucking, like, which you revealed to me last episode that's not even what's happening. Like, the flame effects and the water and all that shit's not actually even happening.
Yeah, it's just a representation of their swordplay.
Right, it's just visual flair. But what you're saying is you still want to see that in the live-action version.
I mean, I don't really care for the visual flares. It's more so the demons that I was referring to the CGI.
Okay, so obviously that.
Because I mean, like
CGI.
the visual flares. I mean, like a little bit of After Effects, you know.
Right, but okay? Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah, I feel like the sword fighting would be cool.
Okay,
they could go either way with the demons.
You could do sword fight. Okay, so Rurouni Kenshin. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say Rurouni Kenshin?
Not at all.
Do you have any idea of the live-action Rurouni Kenshin movies?
No.
Okay, so Rurouni Kenshin is a old school anime. Takes place, I think, in the same thing. It's like feudal era Japan. You know, there's warlords, samurais, ronin, all that shit, and it's basically sword fighting. They adapted those into live-action films, and they work pretty well.
Yeah.
With the exception of a few characters that look goofy because they made them literally look exactly like they did in the anime when they should have just adapted them to look more realistic. It's mostly just sword fighting. So that would probably be a good comparison to what you're what you're thinking of here.
Yeah.
You're thinking of they could actually hire real stunt people and choreograph cool sword fights.
Absolutely.
And I agree with you there. Where I think I'd say I don't know, like how over the top do the fights get in Demon Slayer? Like, could they do that practically where it wouldn't look fucking goofy?
I mean, some of them maybe, yeah.
Like, how insane do the demons get? Because like most of the demons I've seen, like you could have a guy in a costume and a mask and shit do that.
Yeah.
So, but do the demons get more ridiculous than that? Like, is there guys with wings and shit?
Yes, actually, in the newest arc, there is a guy with wings.
Okay.
But there's one that I would be concerned about when he goes through his exam to be a demon slayer.
Right.
And it's all like deformed. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just a massive demon that he almost looks, from my memory anyway, like he's made of body parts.
Okay, so that would definitely have to be CG.
Yeah, 100%.
They definitely wouldn't be able to do that practically.
He is way too large to be represented by a normal human being.
Okay, so they would have to CG the majority of the demons.
decent amount, yeah.
It's unfortunate that Michael Jackson isn't still alive to play the live-action version of Muzan.
Well, good news. They can CGI him.
Yeah, correct. They can use his likeness to get him to create
I'm
that
sure
character.
it'll go over well.
Yeah, I'm sure there would be no controversy with that pick. Any other reasons you think it would work well, other than like the action working well?
Well, so one of the things I was thinking about with the picking of the live actions is it has to be short enough that they don't age a ridiculous amount during shooting. I mean, like, sure, you could edit them to look a little younger, but...
That's a very good point that you just brought up, because, like, you brought up One Piece. You said the actors would probably die before they finished filming all the episodes. I didn't even consider that, well, they definitely would age. Like, forget dying, but, like, Luffy looks kind of timeless in the show. They all do. Anime characters very rarely age.
Well, if I'm correct, in One Piece, the total time that's passed since they started the journey is like 3 years, 6 months or some
right.
ridiculously short amount.
So it's only been 3 years, so the characters all look essentially the same from the beginning to the end, or where it's currently at. But the amount of time it would take to practically film 1,000 episodes would take probably, I don't know, decades, 2 decades. Like if you were to film like 30 episodes a year or something like that, you're talking decades to pull this off. The actors would all age out. They wouldn't look right. They'd be way too old. That's a very good point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
So Demon Slayer makes sense because the episode count is so like small.
Yeah.
Comparatively, right?
And then, honestly, I was actually thinking they could do
look
like...
at the big brain on Johnny here, thinking, getting all logical with
sometimes
the,
I have
with
my
the age and
moments.
shit. I didn't even think of that.
But no, I was actually thinking they could do like a movie for every arc, kind of like they did Mugen Train.
It's funny you say that because Rurouni Kenshin, those are films. They're not TV shows. I think you know what? You're starting to win me over. You're slowly starting to get me there.
It's a solid possibility.
Yeah, you're slowly winning me over because Rurouni Kenshin, those movies are pretty good. They're probably some of the better live action adaptations for anime. So if they can pull that off, you might be onto something because the films. So you think they would work better as films than obviously?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything you think could be improved by making it live action? This is a tricky one. Yeah.
Now, my whole thing is I hate just about every live action they've ever done. So
for animes,
I don't really think that there's much that could be improved.
We should pause for a second.
Okay.
Can you think of any, well, maybe, this could have been a whole video too, but you're getting a bonus here, folks. Name some decent live action anime adaptations.
Right, so
I know I'll go first.
Okay.
I think the Japanese Death Note movies were pretty good. Did you ever see those?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, they're good. Not the shitty Netflix one.
Yeah.
Which could have been good. They just had some unfortunate casting and bad scripting. Excuse me. The Japanese live action ones were like their version, those 3 films, they were pretty solid.
Yeah.
And actually, I think Death Note lends itself to being adapted live action pretty well because the only CG element you got to create is Ryuk. Exactly. You got to create like a demon, like 1 or 2, a handful of like Shinigami, like death gods. That's not that now for like where CGI is at now. That would be so easy to pull off.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing Netflix butchered that. It's just unfortunate. I actually thought that would have worked. That had they not made that would be on my list right now as potential. Yeah. Oh, we should also mention when we were making our list, one of the rules was you couldn't pick anything that had already been done. Now, I actually don't think I fact-checked mine. So I'm hoping that none of these have been adapted. Did you check yours?
I did fact-check mine. There were a couple that had to come off the list.
Oh, because...
And by a couple, I mean solid like 7 picks.
Did you make it to 5 picks?
I did, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you did make it to 5. Okay. So you kept having to you picked one and then you're like, shit, this got made?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And then...
So you just done what I did and just blindly assume that it doesn't exist if you're not aware of it.
There are a couple picks on my list that did like plays.
Yeah, I'm not counting that.
Yeah.
I'm not counting stage plays
I
or
figured we
radio dramas or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not counting any of that shit.
And then
No, it's got to be. I wouldn't even count maybe even Japanese productions. Maybe just North American adaptations.
Yeah.
I mean, because like our film industry is way bigger than their film industry. So these are more big budget productions,
Yeah.
Not to sound elitist or douchey when I say that, but.
I mean, I even vetoed picks that they had announced the live action. So, yeah.
So you had a couple that they suddenly just announced one?
Fairly recently.
Like the fucking
Blue Lock.
Zom. Oh, what? What?
Yeah,
I didn't know this. What?
The article I saw was from
I thought you were going to say Zom 100 or whatever the fuck that show is called. Yeah. Wait, Blue Lock got announced?
Yeah, apparently.
Motherfuck.
I mean, you might want to fact check that, but as soon as I saw that they were even thinking about it, I was like, okay, that's got to come off the list.
Well, that might potentially fuck up one of my later picks. Maybe. I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no. All right. Back to good adaptations. We have Death Note, the Japanese versions, Rurouni Kenshin, which you haven't seen, but I think you just have to take my word. I think they're pretty solid.
Okay.
I can name a lot of bad ones.
Oh, me too.
Cowboy Bebop, terrible.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist was fucking so bad.
No, I shut it
bad.
off in 10 minutes.
Oh, it was so bad. It just looks so goofy, and it just doesn't... Talk about something that shouldn't have been adapted. Yeah. Bleach. Didn't Bleach get one? It was fucking trash.
I heard good things, but I hadn't actually watched it.
I just looked at it, and I'm like, this just looks like guys in cosplay. Like, it doesn't work. You can't adapt certain things.
I believe there's
Dragon
one
Ball
for
Evolution.
Attack on Titan. Oh, fuck Dragon
Ball
Evolution.
It counts. They made it. Attack on Titan is pretty trash. It could have been way worse, I guess, but the problem is like doing Titan. Like, they needed an insane budget to pull that off.
Yeah,
that was the problem. It is actually a pretty grounded show. They could have done it, but you needed a big budget. That one's not good. So yeah, we can list countless bad ones, but listing the good ones, and let's not even say good. Let's just say decent. The decent ones. I've only got 2, and that's where I'm at. And then I can't think of any.
I literally can't think of any. Usually, when I see live action anything, like anime anyway, I look the other way.
Right, because it doesn't work. Because they adapt. Because the problem is it always ends up looking goofy. It looks like guys in cosplay.
Yeah.
Because the problem is, let's use superheroes as an example. Because they're very fantastical and over the top and nonsense, right?
Yeah.
What you have to do is called adapt. It's called adaptation. You need to take the source material and adapt it so that it looks realistic and it looks plausible in live action, right? You can't just take the costumes and exactly recreate them for live action because they looked fucking stupid.
Yeah.
They don't work. You have to adapt the source material so it makes it more practical, right? So it looks believable is the word I'm looking for. If you don't do that, it just looks like a goofy fan film. It doesn't look right. And they did that for they smartly did that when they started adapting the superhero films. They didn't go for their goofy fucking 70s costumes. They adapted them. So they made more sense. By the time we got to Avengers, nobody really looks goofy in those movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They smartly redesigned all the costumes and the characters so that they would make sense to us. They adapted the source material so it worked. So it didn't read as goofy. So it didn't read as stupid. And that's very difficult to do. But that's what they need to do for anime. They need to pull that off. And they don't do that. And then to make their jobs even harder, they pick shows where they really have to do that. They pick fucking Full Metal Alchemist, which has just over the top magic abilities and costumes and shit. And they pick Bleach, which has fucking Shinigami ghost spirit samurai warriors, and they have fucking abilities that are complete nonsense. How do you make that not look goofy?
You have a crazy budget.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's the answer. I don't think it is, though.
Avengers level budget.
Well, One Piece has that. Well, One Piece has that because I think they're spending $100. I think I read someone was $100 million or something insane on this, right?
Yeah.
This might sink Netflix. No, I doubt it. But how funny would that be that this is the... And here's a question. Why do they keep trying this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they failed with Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, they were involved with some other live action adaptations. Weren't they? Didn't they co-produce that Full Metal piece of shit?
I think they did.
Yeah, I think they did too. And like everybody hated that.
And they butchered the Death Note.
And the Death Note one, yeah, infamously. That the Death Note one was actually the first one I think they fucked up.
Yeah, I think so.
That was the beginning of this trend. So like Netflix just refuses to give up. They're like, no, we can pull this off. Well, take fucking note and listen to our goddamn picks, and then you might actually have a chance. So back to your pick of Demon Slayer. That's the end of the interjection. Maybe I'll put a timestamp so people can just skip us like the side ramble. Back to your pick, the Demon Slayer. Anything else you want to add about Demon Slayer?
No, I think I've covered it.
I think you might have slightly convinced me. I'm going to give you some credit.
I'm actually surprised by that.
Because it's not, because, you know, you're pointing out like Rurouni Kenshin, like, well, I pointed out Rurouni Kenshin, but as soon as I thought of Rurouni Kenshin, I thought, well, they can do samurai films. So it's just samurai films with demons. And it's like, well, they can do demon movies. I mean, there's a lot of great practical demon effects you can do. I mean, look at the horror films from the 80s. That shit holds up great. So if they didn't overdo it with the CGI, then I think it could be cool.
Yeah.
And they would have to adapt their costumes so they didn't look stupid. Because a lot of the character designs in Demon Slayer, like, they don't quite, like, they wouldn't adapt right.
Yeah.
You know? Like the dude with like the baby mask or whatever, you'd have to adapt that so it looked more scary or something. Like it would, you know what I mean? That would be very difficult, but I don't think the character designs are too over the top in Demon Slayer.
Yeah, they're pretty okay.
Yeah, they're a little bit more grounded, right? So like as long as they tried to keep it, as long as they adapted the costumes and like made them look more realistic, then I think it would be okay.
Yeah.
So you slightly won me over.
So I'm going to make note of that for the future. If I want to change your mind, I have to let you convince yourself.
That is 100% correct. If only my all my exes knew that, I'd be a married man right now. Although probably not, because I'm doing a podcast about anime. All right, my first pick, Baccano. Have you ever even heard of this?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, all right, let me bring this shit up. Okay. Baccano, here we go. Now that you've seen that, do you recognize that at all? Have you ever seen that image?
No, not at all.
Have you ever seen that? I think that's the DVD cover. Have you ever seen that DVD cover when you were like at HMV or at a con or something?
No, never.
All right, well, let me give you the basic plot. That's okay. You don't have to know it. Basic plot of Baccano. It takes place, it's in the States. It's during 1930s Prohibition era, like old school, like like Al Capone, gangsters, mobsters, like kind of mob wars time. Okay. It follows a ton of different characters. Like if you look at the poster, there's like a shitload of characters. Like any anime, there's a ton of characters involved. But the plot bounces all over the place. So it follows several different like criminal groups, so there's like different mob factions, okay? Sure. And the plot is very complicated, but at its core, the simplest form of the plot is that it is a 1930s gangster drama, okay? With the hook being that there are people in this world that are immortal beings.
Okay.
So this is where the fantastical shit comes in. So the grounded part of it is that it's just a 1930s period piece with like mob warfare. I mean, there's a million movies that they've made during like that time, like the Prohibition era, right? Like literally there's an entire TV show called Boardwalk Empire. Do you know what I'm talking? You know the show I'm referring to? Okay. I'm trying to think of other examples, but you've seen mobster movies, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So like, have you ever seen any kind of mobster movie that takes place in like the 30s, like really old school shit? Like Al Capone type shit?
Off the top of my head, I can't recall, but
that's
possibly,
fine. Yeah. But there's a lot of works that adapt this kind of thing. The only thing that would be a bit of a stretch, and I guess I'm already getting into why I think it would work, for the most part, it's grounded. The fantastical bit is that there's people that are immortal. Okay, so literally they like heal instantly from like wounds. So like if you blow a hole through them, it's gonna like close.
Sure.
That's not a hard effect to do, right? Like they could very easily do that with practical effects and CG. There's no over the top. I guess I should get back into the plot, but it's a bunch of different characters set during this time. It's like mob warfare, and then what ends up happening is they end up all the different groups end up fighting over this elixir of life. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah,
I
a
think
little
we
bit,
may have
right?
Had a discussion about an anime like that.
Yeah,
before.
what the fuck was that show even called?
Hell's Paradise.
Hell's Paradise. So they find this elixir of immortality or life or whatever the hell it's called, and all the groups are inadvertently going after this item. Okay, and it turns you into an immortal. Some of them actually inadvertently end up drinking it, and if it sounds like the plot is a bit of a mess, it's because the plot is a bit of a mess. I actually do like Baccano. I think it's like a really good anime, but the story is a fucking mess, and I think it could use some straightening out majorly. But at its simplest, it's just 1930s. It's mobsters. It's old school prohibition crime. It's crime warfare. It's criminal element. It's organized crime. But then you just have the added element that there is an alchemist that can create an elixir that turns you into an immortal person.
A philosopher's stone.
Right.
Yeah.
And then to make it more interesting though, the immortals can kill each other.
Fascinating.
And the immortals are also aware of each other as well. So that's where it gets really interesting is some of the immortals are kind of just among us and I guess like, blending in, but we're not aware that they are, but they're actually secret. They have their own objectives and they're secretly hunting each other.
Yeah.
So while there's I guess a good way of saying it is while there's mob warfare going on, there's also like a secret war going on between the immortal beings and each other. Like within the craziness of the mob warfare.
Fights within fights.
Exactly. So there's like all these different motivations, all these different characters. The majority of the I've never read the manga. I don't even know if there is a manga for it, to be honest. I think it's like a light novel series or something.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Yeah. The anime, though, the majority of it takes place on a train. So what ends up happening is you get all these different groups, all these different criminal groups, and coincidentally, they all end up on this fucking train at the same time, and madness ensues. So like, it's like normally in a story you'd have the good guys and the bad guys, right?
Yep.
Well, in this, they're all bad guys, and there's like 5 different bad guys that all have their own motivations, and they're all trying to do their own thing. Like one group is trying to heist the train, one group is trying to kidnap people on the train, one group is trying to kill everybody on the train, one group is trying to kill a certain person on the train. Like it just gets madness, and that's where most of the anime takes place, is on this fateful, crazy train ride.
Okay.
Do I have your attention yet?
Yeah. I mean,
What do you think? What do you think of what I'm telling you?
how long is the anime?
It's short. It's like, I don't know, fucking 12 episodes or 13
okay,
episodes
yeah.
or something. It's not long.
Like, as soon as you mentioned Immortals, I was like,
There's only one
but
season.
I mean, if it's that short.
No, there's only one season. So I think it would work well because there's not much, like, you'd hardly have to use any CG. There's not, like, when you look at this, like, look at the character designs, they're all grounded. Then there's nobody looks fantastical. It's just guys in suits. Like, it would just be mobsters. So, like, they've done so many versions of this already, like old school mobster films. The costuming would be easy. The sets would be easy. There's no fantastical shit there. I think it would work well as a film, not a TV show. So while this was originally like it's 13 episodes or whatever, I think it would be better as a film. Are you familiar with Bullet Train?
Vaguely, yeah.
So Bullet Train's plot is very similar to this, where you have all these different criminal groups, and they all end up on this fateful bullet train. It's a recent movie with Brad Pitt. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And they all end up on this fateful bullet train to, I don't remember where it's going, and just madness ensues. So you've got like everybody is fighting everybody, and it's just all this craziness. You know, it gets wacky and zany, but it's very fun and entertaining.
Yeah.
I think if they were to adapt this, it would work great as a film like that, or something like a Guy Ritchie type film where you've got all these different eccentric characters, and they all end up coincidentally interacting with this like one event.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a fun, entertaining time. So I think it would work well as a fun, slick, like action movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I would see them adapting it.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that because, I mean, if it's 12 episodes, what good is a TV series?
Okay. And then, so getting into what I think they could actually improve, the anime has a god-awful ending. And from what I understand, it's because the anime didn't adapt all of the source material. It just, so there's no season 2. It's one season. That's it. So it's a one and done. The problem is the ending is it sets up for the next arc.
Yeah.
That never comes, which is a huge fucking problem. So you've got an unfinished story. So I would recommend they just adapt the train arc and then have a better resolution than the anime. So they could actually improve it by giving it a better ending, a better conclusion, right?
Yeah.
So either they do that or make a sequel to the film and adapt more of the source material and then maybe do the second arc. I don't know. Like, another thing I'll say is, while I'm saying there's like immortals and shit, nobody really has superpowers in the show, so it's pretty grounded, which I like.
Yeah.
So like that would work well to adapt. Like the fights are all pretty, like they're shootouts and fist fights. Nobody does anything that's too over the top. Anyone that's seen the show knows that yes, there are a few ridiculous characters that have borderline superhuman abilities, but not too much. It doesn't go too far, and they could tone. I would definitely say they'd have to tone that down.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. There's my number one pick, Baccano. Baccano. I want to see Baccano live action. Baccano, the train ride from hell. I want to see them adapt that.
No, I think I'd actually get on board for that.
Oh, the jokes, the puns. Give me your number 2, you fuck. What do you got over there?
All right, let's see.
I'd get on board.
All
Fuck
right.
you.
I wish I could say that was on purpose. Haikyu.
Okay. So this is we technically have a crossover here. Okay. You mentioned, so I'm going to give you my number 3. So my number 3 is, it's kind of a cop-out. I kind of had a cop-out pick. Any sports anime.
It's fair. I had the thought. That's why I pulled up Haikyu.
Yeah, I didn't really think of one in particular, although I was going to actually, I'll bring it up right now. So yeah, there's my number 3 right there. My answer is any sports anime I think would work really well as a live action, mostly because they're just fucking sports. There's not a lot of like fantastical shit to them. But I was specifically going to say, because I love soccer and you know how much I love Blue Lock, that I would like to see Blue Lock. So that was going to be my pick.
It almost made my list.
Which now you've informed me is going to happen, so maybe great. I mean, that's cool. But okay, Haikyu, for those that don't know, basic plot of Haikyu.
So we start out with Shoyo Hinata. He becomes obsessed with volleyball after watching a game on television.
He's like a high school kid, right?
Well,
but they're in high school.
He gets into high school.
It takes place in high school.
But he's inspired by watching a volleyball game of Crossnovers, whoever it was. But there was a player on the team, short in stature, much like himself.
Right.
And the announcer called him the Little Giant.
Right.
It inspired him to join volleyball. And when he goes to high school, he joins the Crows.
Crossno.
And we sort of follow an underdog team on their rise to fame.
Yeah, and Karasuno, who was a previous national contender, but has fallen out of favor for many years. They just have never quite had the right team, right players, right organization. We start off and they're very they're not particularly low ranked, but they're mid ranked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then throughout the course of the series, which still hasn't finished, I'm waiting for those fucking films. Hurry up and make those goddamn
apparently
things.
It's this year, but I don't know.
We should say that anyone that doesn't know, Haikyu is an excellent anime. Highly recommend it. It's one of the best sports animes probably of all time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't think that's that outrageous of a statement to make.
Yeah.
But follows a high school volleyball team and their rise to glory, essentially. Although they haven't necessarily won everything yet, where we're at in the story, without spoiling too much. But it's a true underdog story.
Yes.
That is an excellent pick. Yeah. It would work very well.
Yeah.
As live action.
I mean, they do have a stage play, which from
whatever.
I watched a little bit of a clip of that, and it looked kind of goofy.
Why do they do that?
Now,
that's a Japanese thing. They do these fucking stage plays, and they look fucking awful.
that's the best part. Is from the clip I saw, there was a gun.
What?
Yes.
So they added extra shit that
Yeah.
wasn't in the anime
it was
to try
like
to
crows versus cats, and there was a gun. I was like, what does that have to do with volleyball?
That's not even in that's not in the original source material though. So they're just adding
exactly
extra bullshit.
But I guess
Fun.
You don't have to go through with the game if you shoot your opponents.
Yeah, that's awful. Yeah. So like Haikyu specifically though, why do you think it would work well as a live action?
I mean,
it's easy to adapt.
No CGI, right?
Yeah, right. It's just literally sports. It's literally just volleyball.
Yeah. I mean, there are some pretty crazy, I guess, points and stuff they get. But
right,
if you look at like Olympic level athletes, they pull off some pretty crazy stuff.
You could
as
actually hire actors to do some crazy shit for volleyball. Yeah, but I mean, it's film anyways. You can set up all those shots. That's easy to reproduce. They can do the ridiculous, fantastical plays because they have infinite takes to pull it off, right? So
it's not much of a stretch.
And you also have the magic of editing. They don't have to do it in one fucking take, but it's sports. It's literally just sports. And that's why I said sports animes would work so well to adapt live action because think about all the sports movies that get made, sports TV shows, sports dramas. That's literally what they are. They're that's what they are. The animes that we're referring to are the sports dramas that they have on North American television.
Yeah.
Shit like Friday Night Lights, and All American, like that kind of shit. Do you know either of those shows?
Not at all.
Doesn't matter. I think they're both about football because it's always about football in the States, right? But you could adapt Haikyu. You could adapt Slam Dunk, the basketball anime. You know what I'm talking about?
I know of it. Haven't watched it.
They could adapt Blue Lock, which was the one that I was going to recommend, which is just soccer. Sports animes would be perfect to adapt.
Yeah.
There's no CGI. It's all just sports. They're dramas. The conflict is already there. It's natural. It's easy to adapt. There's nothing you really got to tweak, right?
Yeah.
They already make those films. The only difference is they're just going to take those specific stories and adapt them. So now here's my question, though. If they take these, because obviously the sports that we're talking about, they take place in Japan. These are Japanese teams. So here's my question. If they adapted it and it was a North American production, would you want the team to stay a Japanese team? Or would you accept if they changed it and it was like an American team, but it was coincidentally called Kurosano? That's a good question.
I kind of feel like it should be Japanese.
I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't really care if they made... I mean, like, the characters in Blue Lock don't look... like. So here's the thing with anime, right? But, like, anime characters don't necessarily always look Asian. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, they
100%.
don't. They draw them often just look like just basic North Americans. And I think Blue Lock, like, some of the characters look Asian. A lot of them don't, though.
Yeah,
so
they're pretty diverse.
Yeah, it's a very diverse. I guess in that example, then it wouldn't matter because you could just say they're like the non-Asian characters or non-Japanese characters are just like immigrants, I guess. And actually some of them are.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe Blue Lock, it doesn't really matter. But for Haikyu, that is a completely Japanese team.
Yeah.
Right. So if they were to Americanize it, that would really bother you.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. See, like, I don't know how much it would bother me. I don't know that I would really give a shit. I just think, but I guess it wouldn't really be the same then, would it?
Well, they wouldn't have like the the nationals and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I guess things just wouldn't adapt quite right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it does have to. I didn't think of that,
what
though.
prefecture are you from?
Yeah, I guess it would fuck up a lot of shit. Because then I guess it's like, what are they adapting? Just the idea of an underdog volleyball team would be all they'd be adapting.
Yeah.
Right? With like Blue Lock, it's got more of a... For anyone that doesn't know, Blue Lock... The basic plot of Blue Lock is that Japan, the Japanese government, has created this program that's run by this very eccentric genius guy that he's trying to make a perfect soccer team to compete at the national level because Japan is tired of getting their ass kicked at the national soccer league. It is a pretty ridiculous plot in the fact that Japan would make this super secret program to mold the ultimate soccer team, but it's actually Soccer Striker, but later on it becomes Soccer Team, whatever. But that's very easy to adapt. It's a very simple premise. The only thing that's fantastical about this show is that the training camp that all of these young kids are competing in is literally a futuristic facility, but that would not be hard to adapt. Those
goalies would be pretty cool.
The holographic goalies, yeah.
With like the sensors in the ball.
Yeah, like that. I mean, that would not be hard to adapt, but it's grounded enough. The only thing they would have to change is some of the hairstyles of the characters are just too fucking anime, like guys with pink hair and shit like that.
I will accept nothing less than those hairstyles.
No, I want that. You need to tweak. You need to make if you want anime live action to be taken seriously, change their fucking hair. Yes, people can have blue hair, they can have any colored hair, but in reality, very few people have that. Yeah. So if you're going to change this, don't have every other character have pink and fucking purple hair. Change them so that it's like very few characters have that. So it doesn't look goofy. And if you do a test screening and it looks goofy, just fucking don't do it. Just leave their hair black or blonde or whatever, Yeah. Yeah. So sports animes. Is there anything you think... Oh, okay. I didn't ask you this. Is there anything you think could be improved?
I did actually take a bit of a note about this.
First, because your pick was Haikyu. Do you think they can improve anything with a live-action adaptation?
It's not so much that I feel like it would be improved, but it would definitely feel a lot more realistic.
Okay. That's interesting. I'm surprised to hear you say that.
So, like, it's not so much that I think that Haikyu itself is unrealistic. It's just, like, it'd give it that little bit more, like, realism. It's more like relatable.
It would be easier for you to see yourself in the actual
exactly
in the work. Yeah, it would be easier for you to like relate to the action, I guess.
Yeah.
No, that's a valid point. I don't think it necessarily is improved by it. I just think it could work, and I love sports dramas. I am a fan of sport. Like, I absolutely love a lot of sports, like dramatic sports films, stuff like Cool Runnings, things. I love the TV show Friday Night Lights, the drama. Yes, that's a guilty pleasure of mine. I know it's a teen drama, whatever. What other films? Rocky, like those type of films. I'm a sucker for the sports drama. So for me, it's not that it's going to improve anything, but the prospect of having more of those type of works.
Yeah.
Sign me up. I'm down for that.
It's like if you love Haikyu, imagine watching it twice.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You get to watch it with a different cast. Yeah. Now wait till you see Haikyu from American High. It's a completely different team. Would you want? Let's use Haikyu. Would you want a film or a TV show? That's a good question for that show specifically.
I feel like it could go either way.
I agree with you, but if I had to pick gun to my head, go with a movie.
Yeah.
And go with a series of movies. Like, because they're already doing that in the anime anyways.
Yeah, they're ending it with a movie.
Right. So I think it would work better as a series of films.
Yeah.
And each one kind of adapts a specific arc. But I also would accept a TV show. Like a drama, like a sports drama TV show would work perfectly fine too, because those work well actually.
Yeah.
And that would allow you to get more into the little character dynamics and the little conflicts of each character. It would let you flesh out the individual characters on the team more.
Yeah.
So maybe,
No,
that would work.
I'm with you on the movies. I mean,
Like Blue
then
Lock
you
would
could
work
have,
great
like,
as a movie.
an entire game instead of a series of episodes for that one game.
Right. It wouldn't be broken up. You know what I mean? It would be
Yeah.
one continuous chunk of the film. You're not going to have to chunk it up.
And you don't have to start with that recap. And
Right. I think I would tighten it up a little bit. I think it works well for sports to bring it as a film. I think it works really well in the plot structure of how films work, like how the actual mechanics of like you could have a couple games in one film.
yeah.
Whereas a couple games is like could be like one game can be an entire fucking season in Haikyu.
Yeah.
So like that could be condensed down and put into a film, and you actually have several of those in one movie.
Maybe even a tournament.
Right. I think that would work. I think it would work well. I think Blue Lock would make a great series of films.
Oh, absolutely.
So are they doing a TV show or is it a film?
I think it's a TV show, but I'm not sure. I just saw live action and I just vetoed it from my list.
Oh, I thought of another good live action anime. Sorry, not good, but decent one. Oh, what was this one called? Give me 1 sec here, folks. I can't 100% remember the name of this anime. It's like Ganji the Gambler. Kaiji the Ultimate Gambler. Yes, that's what it is. Kaiji, not Ganji. Kaiji the Ultimate Gambler is a fucking awesome anime.
Oh, okay, this one.
I really like this anime. It's a gambling one. And yeah, they made a live action, and I actually watched the live action movie. It was pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was Japanese production. Yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. Oh, I didn't know there was 2 of them. Apparently, look at this. Kaiji 2! I guess that adapts like the second arc. The game of death continues. But there's another one that was pretty good. That was a smart pick, though, because it's just about gambling.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't
There's
seen much
nothing
of it,
fantastical about it.
but I saw a clip of like the rock, paper, scissors with the cards.
Which is great. Yeah, it's just like it's simple. It's not overly complicated. Like this idea. This is more grounded. This is the kind of shit you should be fucking adapting for live action. Things that actually look normal when you adapt them. It's just about a guy that's a professional gambler. That's it. And I think you recognize that guy?
No.
That's the fucking guy from the live action. Here, I'll bring it up. That's the guy from the live action Death Note. I think.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Actually, I've just thought of another pretty good live action. It's,
Wait, that's that guy, right? That's him.
I think so.
I think that's him right there. Is that? No, it's this. Okay, hold on a sec here, folks. Tangents.
Yeah.
We're going on tangents. Okay, hold on a sec. I got to look up Death Note. And I specifically, there we go, 2006. And who played Light Yagami? Tetsuya Fujiwara. Are you also the actor in Kaiji? Ha! Look at that! And he was also in, apparently they did a live action Lupin the Third? No. Oh, he does a voice. Oh, he does a voice. Okay. I was like, is this his career? He just does live action adaptations? How cool is that? The same guy, the guy who was coincidentally in 2 of the better live action adaptations of animes.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. This podcast is sponsored by Fly By Night Movies, Games, and Toys. Fly By Night is your one-stop shop for all things anime, including movies, Funko Pops, video games, and hundreds of anime figures. Fly By Night is located in downtown Oshawa. That is Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. Yes, this is a Canadian podcast. Once again, that is Fly By Night Movies, Games, and Toys. Come check us out. We're worth the drive. We're way off topic. Where the fuck were we? I don't even remember.
Haikyu.
TV
show or movie. We agree movie.
We agree on nothing, but I agree with you. On to my next pick. Psychopaths. Psychopaths.
Okay.
Have you seen Psychopaths? You know what
I've
the fuck?
watched a little bit, yeah.
Oh, okay. See, this one you actually have an idea what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. For anyone that doesn't know, Psychopaths, it takes place in like a Neo-Tokyo future Japan society. It's in the future. They've got tech we don't have. You know, they've got hologram technology and shit that we don't have. And in the future, public order is maintained by an ultimate supercomputer, and it has some program that it calls, I think it's like the Sybil system or something like that. And basically, at all times, citizens of Japan are being monitored, and their brainwave activity is being monitored
Yeah.
by this supercomputer, which is processing it in real time. And what it does is, by monitoring your brainwaves, by doing a scan of your brain, I don't know how it gets this data, but it's like it's through your eyes and through your temperature and shit. It's able to like do some sort of read of your brainwaves, okay?
Yep.
And when it does that, when it does a scan, that's called a psychopath. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't know. I thought I was educating you there for a second. So that when it does a psychopath of a citizen, it generates a number, which is your crime coefficient. Is that what the term? I think that's the term.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, it generates a number anyways. I think it's called a crime coefficient. And once your number gets above an acceptable threshold, a public safety force is dispatched, because the crime coefficient is supposed to represent your tendency toward committing a crime or an act of violence. The idea is that the system is trying to predict which people are going to commit a crime before they do it. Who has the potential to be a criminal? So in other words, they create this homogenized society where everybody's got to be very careful about their emotions, because if they get labeled as a threat, I don't remember the term they come up with, but basically if your crime coefficient number, I think it's 100, goes above 100, then the public safety board comes out and you're either going to be arrested, and I believe from there there's like rehabilitation programs and things like that to lower your crime coefficient number, or they're going to execute you, because they have the right to do that. So they can. It's kind of like Judge Dredd, where they are judge, jury, and executioner. They can serve you an execution warrant right there and just fucking shoot you in the street.
If I do recall, the essentially police, if you will, their crime coefficient, isn't that elevated as well?
Yes. So the computer is monitoring citizens, and they're doing this to try to predict crime before it's going to happen, to prevent it. If it sounds familiar, that's because that's almost the exact plot of Minority Report. Are you familiar with Minority Report?
No.
Okay, that film came out in like 2002, I think. It's like a 20-year-old film with Tom Cruise. But in that version, the way they predict crime is not a supercomputer. It's actually like psychics that are predicting crime. It's not as good as Psychopaths.
Yeah.
Psychopaths is better. Psychopaths is an excellent anime. And so once your number goes too high and the computer deems you that you are latent potential to be a criminal, you're a criminal that's going to happen, right? Then the public safety force is dispatched, and like you alluded to, it's actually comprised of both regular citizens, so they're actually just like government employees, and they're like the detectives. I think they're called investigators.
Yeah.
And they're paired up with enforcers, and the enforcers are latent criminals. So they're criminals or potential criminals. I don't even think all of them haven't necessarily committed a crime, but you still, as long as if the computer deems you a latent criminal, you're either getting arrested or you're getting executed.
Yeah.
So they have these potential criminals have agreed to work for the government to try to apprehend other future criminals, essentially. Yeah. And the ideology there is that who better to catch a criminal than a criminal?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's the basic plot. It would work really well because there's not a lot of it's super grounded. Like, look at the character designs. It's just not super fantastical. It's just like guys and men and women in like suits. Like, there's nothing. It's a very grounded looking world.
I don't know. I've never seen anybody in a suit.
Right. There's lots of films because it takes place in like a dystopian sci-fi world.
Yeah.
There's a million films and TV shows like this that adapt this. You know, it's like a Neo Tokyo. So like, you know, take your Blade Runner, that kind of vibe to it, your cyberpunk kind of aesthetic. That's very easy to adapt. They've already done works like that. There's no fantastical elements, and all the CG they'd have to do would be a cakewalk. They made Minority Report 20 fucking years ago. Like, think about and that movie looked pretty good then, and it was doing just as complicated as shit as this would require. So they could easily pull this off. Would not be hard to adapt whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I actually think it would look pretty slick because a lot of cyberpunk type movies that take place in a dystopian, like look at Fifth Element or something like that, they look good. You know, like they can do that aesthetic well. So like the future tech kind of look.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be hard to adapt. Things they can improve. I absolutely loved the first season of Psycho Pass. I thought it was fantastic. It was one of my favorite animes the year that I watched it. The show then progressively got worse to me, and I checked out about midway through season 3 because I think the plot became a bit of a muddled mess. So I think it actually could be improved by improving the story.
Okay.
Improve the story, stop it from going into convoluted, nonsensical territory, streamline it a bit, and tighten up the script. So I think they could actually improve on the story quite a bit if they were to adapt it, because I think it gets too messy and it just gets a little too stupid. It loses a lot of its steam by season 3, and I think there's new movies and things that Psycho Pass is still a current property. I have no idea if the new films or new seasons are a continuation of the original story or are side stories or what. I haven't really looked into it, but you could easily take this basic premise and even create your own story. Like, you don't even need to adapt necessarily the stories of this anime. It's just a fun concept of a society where we try to predict criminals before they commit an act before they commit a crime.
Yeah.
And that's a fun idea. And the aesthetic of the show is slick as fuck. It's got a cool sci-fi aesthetic. The weapons they use are really cool. It's like they have the guns that when they aim the gun at you, it tells them the number on the screen.
Yeah. And
if the crime coefficient number is high enough, then they can shoot the gun. Otherwise, it's locked.
Yeah, it's essentially just a radar.
Right. Like that's cool as shit. So like those kind of weapons would look really cool live action. So I think it has a lot of potential. Now, whether or not it would work better as a film or a TV show, I debated about this. I think I would like a series of movies, but it depends who's doing it. This is one where I'm going to say it could go either way. My initial reaction was give me a series of sci-fi films set in this universe. I think that would be great. But then the more I thought about it, it was like, well, if HBO does it or AMC, then do it as a slow burn, gritty, like almost noir, cyberpunk noir TV show.
Yeah.
So if they have the budget to stretch it out, then and it's a high production endeavor, then do it as a TV show. Otherwise, do it as a movie.
All right.
What do you think of that pick?
No, that's solid. I honestly completely forgot Psycho Pass existed. It's been forever since I watched it.
I gave this some thought. Like I seriously thought about this for weeks up until this episode. I was trying to think of like shit that I thought, hadn't had an adaptation. I'm honestly shocked this didn't have a live action.
Yeah.
but I didn't do my research
So
100%,
maybe
folks.
it
So yeah, okay. I did like a basic quick search on all these. For what I could tell, I don't think any of these have live action adaptations. Maybe there's like a fucking stage play or some shit.
Yeah.
Maybe they made a stage play musical of
Probably.
Psycho-Pass. Probably, yeah. What do you got as your number 3 there?
Blue Period.
Oh,
You
the
ever hear that
painting.
one? Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I watched the first episode of that. Yeah. All right. Basic plot of Blue Period, please.
So basically, Yatora Yaguchi is bored with life, and he jumps into the beautiful world of painting because he's inspired by a piece of art that he sees.
It's a high school kid, right?
Yes.
It's like stereotypical, like Japanese high school kid, central protagonist, right?
Yes.
I don't remember. Is he a delinquent?
I believe so, yeah. And through this wonderful world of art, he starts seeing things through new eyes.
Yeah, like it's like a delinquent type troublemaker boy that ends up falling into an art class, right? Essentially. And then that opens up, like, it broadens his horizons and it makes him more of like an interesting person, I guess. It helps him develop as a person.
And become less of an asshole, yeah.
That would 100% work, live action.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, you're just describing it. Literally, the plot you just said, it didn't even have to be an anime. That's a good example of something that would work either way. Like, what the plot you just said sounds like any kind of drama film, like that could exist right now on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, or TV show even, whatever. I guess more of a film, but so yeah, why do you think it would work? I mean, I guess I just answered that for you. But.
I mean, the art is easy enough to replicate. I mean, they did it for the manga, the anime, right?
Right.
So doing that again isn't difficult. I mean, the characters pretty straightforward, nothing fancy, no real CGI at all. It's necessary. The story too, it's again real straightforward. Like it's not difficult.
I just brought up Blue Period there just to show people the character designs. I mean, yeah, they're just high school kids.
Yeah,
there's nothing fantastical about this show at all. This would easily work as a live action piece for sure. It's a good solid pick. I haven't watched all of it. I think I tried to watch the first episode. I thought it just didn't hook me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Even if they did like some artsy shit, do they do artsy things in the show? Like, does it do some like where he envisions the art coming alive or something like that?
So like
some stylistic shit.
Most they sort of do in that respect. It's like he's taking a test or something, and they all have mirrors. They're supposed to draw a portrait of themselves.
Okay.
And like how they see themselves in the world or whatever. And someone bumps him and knocks his mirror down on the floor and it shatters. She scrambles to help pick it up, and he demands she stop because his masterpieces come to him through those shattered pieces.
Okay.
So he makes a painting based on his reflection through these shattered pieces. Because he doesn't see himself as a whole. He sees himself as parts.
As like fragmented.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they could definitely replicate shots like that in film.
Yeah, exactly.
I
mean, like, how hard is it to drop a mirror?
But not only that, but I mean, like, any kind of like stylistic, flashy, artsy shots, like the film industry can easily do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So the right filmmaker could do some really cool, creative visual shots.
Yeah.
For this kind of adaptation.
Maybe make it a little flashier.
Yeah, actually, you're right. Like they might even be able to do more in a live action than an animated version.
Yeah.
Like, or different things that you couldn't quite do, that don't quite work, that only work for live action.
Yeah.
Do you think it could actually improve anything?
Yeah, just make it that little bit flashier.
I guess that's it. Yeah. The simple answer. Would you want a movie or a TV show?
So I don't know how long the series will be.
Oh, is it still going? I thought it was a one and done.
2021 and on.
You're right. Yeah,
So
it does say still going.
I don't know how long it's going to be. So I'd probably play it safe and say a TV show.
Okay. I'm going to say movie.
Yeah.
Because when you described the plot, I was like, Yeah, that just sounds like a drama that came out last week. Like that just sounds like that just sounds like a indie film, like an indie movie that would be straight to VOD or have a very limited theatrical run, you know.
Yeah.
The central character will be played by Evan Peters. Do you know who that is?
No.
It's the guy who played Quicksilver in the X-Men movies,
Okay,
and he was also like an American Horror. Evan Peters is in fucking everything. I was trying to think of somebody that like always he played a lot of like younger kid roles. Now he's a little bit too old to play that character of like a high school kid, but
Yeah.
yeah.
He would have been perfect.
He probably would have been perfect
Yeah.
to play that character
He's
at
got
the
the
time.
hair.
He actually does kind of have the hair that Evan Peters. Yeah, it's like, I think Evan Peters would have worked for that, but I think it would totally work as an indie movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, solid pick. Look at you. We're getting all kinds of good picks here. Netflix, hire us to run your goddamn live action anime division. All right. If they hired me right now, I would come in there. I would fucking halt all production of everything they're working on, and I would just immediately tell them to buy all the rights to the shit that we've said so far,
Yep.
and then start doing that and go one at a time. I would just say, knock off all this shit that you're doing because you're picking the wrong shit to adapt. Adapt shit that actually will work, and you'll make a fuck ton of money.
Sit them down, look them dead in the eyes, and say, "Listen to me because I am smarter than you."
Not even that I'm smart. I've watched more anime than you have. That's what I'd say. That's the way I'll put it.
Well, I mean, our lists are kind of proving we're smarter than
Well,
them. So.
obviously, yeah, exactly. All right, okay. I'm excited about this next one.
Okay.
Of all the ones on my list, nah, that's a lie. Okay, no, my last one is probably the one that would be most excited for. But next one I got is AD Police Files. I bet you never heard of this fucking anime. Okay, AD Police Files. There's an image that is like the DVD. It's hard. I had trouble finding images for this anime. This is an old school anime. It's from like, I think the 80s or very early 90s. It's like golden era, gorgeous hand-drawn anime, that typical the shit that I love.
There's a bubblegum crisis.
Okay, so that's actually part of the plot, funny enough. So it says, prequel to the cyberpunk anime classic Bubblegum Crisis. That image is like the DVD cover, and it's not the greatest. Doesn't necessarily represent anything that's even in the show, other than like you can see it's like a hot chick with like a robot arm, essentially. Like based on that, what do you think the show's about? Considering it's called AD Police Files, and don't forget it's a prequel to a show called Bubblegum Crisis.
Honestly, I don't even know.
Okay, so it is in fact a prequel to another show called Bubblegum Crisis. It exists in the same universe as that, and we'll touch on that in a second. The basic premise is it takes place in a cyberpunk future. Okay, so it's similar to Psychopaths. It's in the future. It's a Neo Japan, Neo Tokyo, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And we have a ton of new technology. It's advanced. It's farther ahead than we are now. And the greatest technological advancement is we now have mass production androids. And there's a central company think of them as like, I don't know, the Apple, the Amazon. They're like the big evil corporation. I think they're called like Genome or something.
Yeah.
I'm going to call them Genome. And Genome has created these. They're the ones behind the mass production androids. They're the main company that creates these. Okay, that mass produces them and sells them to consumers and to companies. The androids. When I say android, you know what I mean by android?
Yeah.
So like, the difference between a cyborg and an android. This is very important.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so for anyone that doesn't know, a cyborg is a cybernetic organism, meaning it is a organism that has robotic or technology enhancements to it. Okay, so if I cut off my arm and I now have a robot arm, I am in fact a cyborg. If you remove my eye and give me a robot eye, I am a cyborg. Okay, an android is the exact opposite. There's no living material. It is just as it sounds. It is a robot or a machine that is complete machine, but it's meant to look and act human. That's an android. There you go. There's your quick little definition. Listen, that's how much of a sci-fi geek I am, that I have these definitions in my back pocket, ready to educate the masses.
Oh, I appreciate it.
It's very, very important. So they create these androids, very similar to, have you ever seen the movie I, Robot?
Yes, I have.
Okay, very similar to that in that anyone can buy these androids, and you can use them for various different things. Companies can buy them and use them for construction, or you might use them for security. You might use them as factory workers. You might not use them for that. But you might just use giant robots, because there's also like just robotics has gone insane at this point, and we have like crazy advanced robotics in this world. Okay.
Yeah.
You might also use them as employees for your company. Like they might be hostesses or waiters at bars or restaurants. You might also use them for a sexual gratification. And that is a part of the show, is that people use them literally as sex toys, I guess, is literally the way to say it. I don't want to say sex doll, because it's not really a doll, right? Because it's like alive in a sense, and it's animated, and it's going to interact with you, and it's going to act and talk like a human. But people use them for sex. People use them as like partners. So they're so mass produced that anybody has access to these things if you've got enough money.
Yeah.
Where the dystopian aspect of the show comes in is, I should mention the androids they create are called boomers. Don't ask me why, it's just what they're fucking called. Boomers, like Boomers, boomers. I don't know why, it's kind of a stupid fucking name, but that's what they're called. That's what they call the androids. They call them boomers. So the boomers can be in different shapes and forms and be used for different various functions in society. What ends up happening is, because these boomers are so readily used all over society and culture, they start malfunctioning. And when they malfunction, because it's a fucking robot, they can cause a shit ton of damage and destruction. And they can also kill people, because again, it's dangerous. It's a robot that essentially has superhuman strength compared to us.
Yeah.
Right? Think of them like Terminators. Does that give you an idea?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, even in iRobot, they had superhuman strength.
It's kind of making me think of, is it Detroit Become Human?
Detroit Become Human, right? Yeah, but they're robots, so they obviously have crazy, tensile strength, and they can like punch through a fucking wall, whereas a human couldn't, right? Like, so they can do physical feats that a human can't. So when they go faulty and go nutty, it's a major fucking problem, and it becomes such a problem that the government creates a police force to deal with the issue, and they are called the AD police force. And I've already forgotten what the fuck AD stands for. I'm actually going to look that up right now, because I cannot remember what AD police force stands for. Any
Short
guesses?
for advanced, maybe?
Advanced police force?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that what it stood for?
I don't think so.
Okay, there we go. I found it. What did you guess?
Advanced.
And you are correct. Yes. Give that man $10,000. Often simplified as AD police, the advanced police are the counter boomer force, essentially, task force. Okay. Yeah. So they create a section of the police force to deal with, specifically to deal with boomers that get out of control. It's a very good anime. It's old school anime. It's fantastic. Now let's bring up Bubblegum Crisis. So Bubblegum Crisis, exists in the same world, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any idea? Now you know the plot of AD Police. What do you think Bubblegum Crisis has to do?
I would imagine that a bunch of preschoolers ran out of chewing gum.
Correct. And it was the robots that took away their gum. That is the plot. No. Bubblegum Crisis, and this is actually specifically why I picked AD Police Files over Bubblegum Crisis. Bubblegum Crisis follows a group of young women who form their own vigilante group to stop the boomer threats, the boomers that get too out of control, that the police actually have trouble handling. They form their own force called the Night Sabers, and the Night Sabers are in super advanced mech suits.
Fascinating.
They're basically in like Power Ranger-esque suits that allow them to like fight killer robots. Bubblegum Crisis is also fantastic. I love that anime. It's actually in my personal collection as well as AD Police Files. The problem is Bubblegum Crisis is a little too ridiculous to adapt to live action. So that's why I actually didn't pick that one, and I picked AD Police Files. Because AD Police Files is pretty fucking grounded, and it would work really well if you were to adapt it. It doesn't have any fantastical shit to it. It's all hard sci-fi, and it's just killer robots. Literally, we've made this movie before. We've made this movie, this TV show before. We've got Terminator. We've got iRobot. We've got Westworld. Like, we've done this concept before. I just think it would work really well as a live action adaptation. I don't think it would. If you want to talk about like what would it improve, the story of AD Police File is almost like an anthology series, and then there was. So I like the original 3-part OVA series, and then they made like another sequel show that I didn't like as much, and it was like 12 episodes and followed specific characters. But I don't think you even need to adapt the stories that are in the anime. Just take the concept of a police force that has to stop killer robots.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that just fun?
Yeah.
Like,
I'd watch it.
Right. And like, there's so much potential there for crazy action and gore and like violence. Like, because the anime is hyper violent as fuck. It's like old school, hyper violent anime with tons of like gore and over the top, like, violence. That's the shit that I want to see. So give me fucking Terminator. Like, don't hold back on any of that shit. Go over the top. I want to see robots punching through guys and tearing out their fucking hearts. Do you know what I mean by it?
Yeah.
That's the shit that I want to see. And they can totally do it. So give it a fucking hard R 18A rating, okay? Make it hyper violent. That would be fun to watch. I think if you were to go movie versus TV show, honestly, I'm fine with either. You make it a movie, it would work good. Just adapt a specific story or do a specific story of a few specific officers. If you're going to make it a TV show, you better have the fucking budget to pull it off because you got to do all that shit practically. I don't want any CG shit. Give me all practical. There's no need to do any CG. Like very, very minimal CG. Most of it can be accomplished practical because the androids just look like fucking us. That's not hard to adapt.
Yeah.
There's not a lot you have to tweak. There's not a lot of shit. They don't have a lot of tech that's like shit we don't have. For the most part, just the cars and some of the buildings look, they're a little ridiculous, but the vehicles would be easy to do, and all of the buildings and all that shit, that you CG. You CGI a lot of the background. You can do that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But all the fucking androids and the robots, that can be done practical. That's just actors, It would be fun. It would be fun. That's why I said I'm excited. If that happened, it would be great. I don't think it would necessarily improve anything other than like the original OVA series is a bit of an anthology. So maybe they could, if they were to adapt it, they could give it a little bit more of a solid structure or like a solid story.
Okay.
Something that was a little bit more engaging and maybe a little bit longer, had a little bit more substance to it, I guess is what I would say. But I also think it would be great if they made it because there is not enough killer robot movies anymore.
No, definitely not.
No, I'm serious. Like, other than like Terminator and like Megan, which I really liked Megan. Did you ever watch Megan?
I did. I I thought it was okay.
The killer robot doll?
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me more killer robots. That's a fun horror like character. That's a fun horror genre.
Yeah.
Like it's a fun subgenre that does not nearly have enough entries in it. Like how many million fucking killer shark movies have they made over the years? They make one every other week. But for some reason killer robots is so unmined. I don't know why, because it doesn't take a ton of effects to do it, especially if you just make them androids. You just have actors.
Maybe it's just too close to becoming real.
I mean, what I think it is. I think too many works are afraid of copying Terminator.
Yeah.
But Terminator is so specific. It's about time travel and like Skynet and a bunch of other bullshit. It's its own thing. I said that as if like I don't like Terminator. I fucking love Terminator. It's a masterpiece. So take it with a grain of salt when I say it's got about a bunch of bullshit. I don't really mean that. But what I mean is it's its own specific thing. So there's so many ways you can go with Killer Robot. Like Megan's a good example. That's about a very specific robot doll that is a companion to a little girl.
Yeah.
That goes rogue, essentially. Like that's one flavor. AD Police Files is about if they were to make it a TV show, every episode could be about a different robot that's gone haywire. That's fun. That's really fun. If you're going to make it a movie, they would have to have more of a specific like theme to it, probably.
Yeah.
Like should man have such a technology, or the boomers are becoming self-aware or some shit like that. I mean, they would probably have to take it somewhere like that.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with either, but that's my pick. All that is to say, give me some goddamn killer robots.
Honestly, you've kind of got me wanting to watch AD Police Force.
80 Police Files.
Sorry, Police Files.
Yeah, 80 Police Files. Only
I saw
3
police,
of them.
I filled in Force.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you did get advanced. Yeah. I've got you wanting to watch the advanced Police Files.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go with the original. It's a 3-part OVA series. Very good.
All right.
It's very good. I can lend you all these. I think everyone on my pick or everything on my list I pretty much own. No, that's not true. I don't own Psychopaths because the later seasons suck.
Buy the first season.
I believe me, I'm tempted because it's pretty solid on its own. What is on your list? What's your next pick? That was my. What am I at now? 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 down. Is this your last pick?
No. This is my 4th.
This is your 4th. Okay.
Because we had the crossover with your 3rd.
I was like, how the fuck did I get ahead? Okay, yeah. What's your 4th?
Spy Family.
Yep. I'm just going to say yep. Let me bring that up computer here. All right. Basic plot.
Basically, a spy has to build a family to execute a mission, not realizing that the girl that he has adopted is a telepath and the woman that he has married is an assassin.
I just brought it up here. Here's Spy Family. For anyone that doesn't know, it's exactly what you just said. It's basically James Bond. It's like 1960s James Bond. And for a specific mission, he has to build a family.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, the woman who he chooses to be his fake wife ends up being an assassin, an underground assassin. And the girl he adopts turns out to be a telepath.
Yeah.
Yeah, coincidentally. And they all end up bonding and becoming a happy family.
Big happy family.
I liked the first half of the first season. Then I think and then I checked out. It didn't really hook me. But this isn't a review
Honestly,
of the
I'm
anime.
surprised you watched that much.
No, it was pretty grounded. That's why I think this is a solid pick. This is like, okay, so why do you think it would work well as a live action?
Honestly, it's the character designs are easy enough.
Looking at this image, there's nothing, with the exception of, is that the with the exception of Yor's costume, which is
I mean, like right there, that's a live action cast right there, you know.
Oh, this dude! Oh my god!
But
that looks awful. God, they all look unnatural. Wait, is this real?
I have no idea.
Wait, did this get announced?
Oh, maybe it did.
Oh, cosplayers. Okay, I was like, what? This looks fucking terrible.
I was going to say I didn't research as well as I thought. But, yeah, no, I think the hardest part they would have...
Okay, so take note. Don't do this. Don't... This is a good example. If you're gonna fucking make it live action, you have to adapt the source material. This guy looks unnatural with that fucking hair. The hair just looks like a wig, which obviously well, maybe it isn't. I don't know. People don't have pink hair in real life, so that doesn't make any fucking sense. And then she probably looks the most normal. Like this version of Yor looks the most normal. Yeah. But like, if you're gonna do Yor, I mean, I don't know. I guess you could have that like. Isn't that a little like dominatrix-y? It's a little
bit.
Yeah, it's a little nonsense. But you are right. For the most part, the character designs are pretty grounded.
I think the hardest part they would have with it is like when Lloyd does his whole like transformation into people.
Well, I mean, they did the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah,
do
fair,
that. Like
fair.
the nonsense.
Like literally removing your face.
Right. The nonsense where Tom Cruise literally like he has a. It's all the gag is always that it's another who Tom Cruise with Ethan Hunt, that's the character, who Ethan Hunt's supposed to be. They just have that actor actually doing it, but then they have a shot of the actor going and he pulls off his face and then it's Tom Cruise underneath. That's the gag. So that's literally all they'd have to do. Yeah, because does he do the same thing in the show where he perfectly replicates people? Yeah, so that's the same gag. So there you go. That would be easy to do.
Yeah. So, that's it.
It's just a spy action. It's just like an action thriller. Like, have you ever heard of like The Man from U.N.C.L.E.? Like that? It would be very easy for them to do this, to adapt this. Like, it's just a spy thriller. That's a good pick. It's just an action spy thriller.
Yeah.
And the only fantastical shit in it is, the girl Anya has telepathy, but there's nothing you have to CG there. Like all the actions would be practical. And it would be a period piece.
Yeah.
I'm selling you on your own pick right now. Do you agree with what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. It would all be practical.
You know, I should put this on my list.
Yeah, the very thing that I'm saying. Do you think they could actually improve on anything?
There are the scenes with like Anya making those like facial expressions that are a little over the top.
Oh, they'd have to downplay the comedy.
So like I think that would be the improvement, is downplaying it a little bit.
Yeah, because the comedy in the show is very like over the top, and that's probably why I stopped watching it. It gets a little too goofy for my taste.
Like, I mean, I still enjoy it, but I wouldn't mind seeing just a tad less.
Yeah, if you were to adapt this, you couldn't have people making cartoony over the top faces. They'd have to they would have to adapt this. So it'd have to look, like how normal people would react to things.
Yeah, so I'd say that would be my improvement.
Okay, do you want this to be a slick action James Bond-esque romp, like a film, or do you want it to be a TV show like, I don't know, I can't think of any spy TV shows, but I'm sure there's a million out there.
I think I'd go with TV show.
Oh, you want it as a TV show? Interesting.
So I don't recall like the end of season 1 or anything, but
what do you want the tone of this to be? Like, do you want this to be like the same tone? Because the tone of this is very like tongue-in-cheek comedic.
Yeah.
It's almost a comedy. It's almost slice of life.
Yeah.
Actually, is what it's more like.
I mean, it's goofy, but I mean,
would you want them to maintain that tone? That's my question. Or would you want
to some extent?
Okay.
I mean, maybe tone it down just a tad.
Okay. So it should be something that's a little more lighthearted.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
I'd
you want
it
something more
to
like...
some extent, stay true to the source material, right?
Okay. So something actually more like Mission Impossible, where it can be a little bit more tongue-in-cheek at times.
Yeah.
Because those movies have quite a bit of humor injected in them. Yeah. Not a ton. So you'd want it to be a little bit more serious than what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you want it to be a TV show.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And who do you want to produce this TV show?
Yes.
I thought I'd add that at the end there. I wanted to see, just put you on your toes. Which studio do you want to make this? Do you want it to be, here's your options. You can pick HBO, you can pick Netflix, You can pick Disney Plus, or you can pick Amazon. Those are your options. It's got to be one of those.
I'm leaning toward Amazon.
Why Amazon? Amazon.
so-
Okay, that's interesting.
Netflix. It's just they don't have the best track record.
Okay.
Disney. I don't know. I feel like they're getting too much.
Disney can. Yeah, I would never pick them for anything right now.
Yeah.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
And I feel like I don't know. Amazon's got the money. They could find someone that would make this work.
Yeah, I mean, I think for this kind of adaptation, any of those studios probably would work. I was just fucking with you. Yeah. I don't know how. Truthfully, I don't know.
Pulling this out of my ass.
Yeah, like I don't really know the intricacies between those studios. I think each of them has the potential to do something solid. Although that being said, for the sci-fi TV shows that I pitched, give it to fucking Apple Plus. Damn, is Apple ever knocking it out of the park with their sci-fi shows?
Yeah.
The Foundation. What was the one I just finished? I just watched that excellent show where they're all underground.
Silo.
Yes, thank you, Silo. Fantastic show. Did you watch Silo?
No, but
did I recommend
I'm meaning
it?
to. I got the recommendation from Jackie before I got it from you.
Oh, okay. So. All right. So I don't get credit on that one.
You did also recommend it. Yeah.
So Apple's killing it with the sci-fi shows right now. So the sci-fi shit I would want them to handle, or HBO because they did Westworld. But we're just talking out of our ass in terms of studios. Ultimately, if you have enough money, you could pull this off. You get the right talent involved, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, my last pick. Are you ready?
No.
Okay, me neither. Of everyone on my list, this is the one that I would actually get excited if they announced this tomorrow.
Okay.
Like everything else, like Baccano, I could take it or leave it. Psychopaths, I would probably get a little excited. The sports animes, a little excited. AD Police Files, fucking A. But this next one, I would legit be like, sign me up. I want to see this. And it doesn't need it, but I think it could be really well done. And that is Monster. Have you ever heard of the anime Monster?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay. The full title is actually Naoki Urasawa's Monster. It's it did have a manga series, and the anime's from 2004. It was a longer anime. Had 71 or 73 episodes. Wasn't a short one. So it technically had multiple seasons, okay? The premise is a very gifted brain surgeon named something Kenma is his name. I can't remember his first name, but Kenma, I believe, is... I don't really know how the Japanese naming conventions work. It's like their second name is their first name or something like that.
Last before first, yeah.
Yeah, last comes before first. So Kenma is the main guy of the show, and he's a very gifted, up-and-coming, rising up the ranks of this hospital, and his level in society. And he is a gifted surgeon who, this one fateful night, saves this little boy's life. And this little boy has a bullet that has gone into his brain, and he is dying. And Kenma saves this little boy. Okay? And then we flash forward, and the little boy is now a young man, and it turns out that young man is a psychopath, and he is a murderer. Not unlike a Hannibal Lecter type character.
Okay.
So he is a genius level intellect individual who also happens to be sociopathic and have no qualms killing anyone. In fact, he toys and kills people for fun. That person's name is Johan. I believe it's Johan. And Johan comes back into Kenma's life and slowly begins fucking with him. to the point where Kenma gets accused of murder and becomes the prime suspect in a murder investigation. And there is I don't want to use the word ruthless, but there is a overly determined detective or inspector. I believe his name is Lunge. And he is now tracking and pursuing Kenma to try to arrest him because he thinks Kenma is responsible for these murders that are actually Johan, that he has set Kenma up for.
Yeah.
That's the basic premise of the show. What follows is a game of cat and mouse that is told brilliantly over the span of the series. And Kenma is pursuing Johan, basically following his trail of bodies and destruction, trying to clear his name while avoiding capture from the inspector that is determined to bring him in. Johan's goal is to just have fun and toy and fuck with people while avoiding getting caught. Kenma's trying to clear his name, and Inspector Lunge is trying to put who he thinks is a horrible criminal behind bars.
Yeah.
And then throughout the series, that's the overarching plot. And throughout the series, we meet characters that Johan befriends. Yes, the villain makes friends. That Kenma befriends, and that while they know they believe Kenma's innocence, and they actually aid him on his I don't want to use the word journey because it makes it sound like a fantasy, but that aid Kenma in his pursuit of Johan. And even Inspector Lunge interacts with different people over the series. It is one of my all-time favorite animes. I can't overstate how much of a masterpiece this is. It is one of the most grounded animes you're going to ever watch, in that it did not need to even be an anime. While it does look really cool and slick, it could have just as easily been filmed live action and it would still totally work. So in terms of like, what do you think of that premise, what I just told you?
Well, based on the name, and when you said the boy had a bullet in his head, I thought you were going to lean more toward like Frankenstein.
Oh, no. There's like no supernatural bullshit at all.
It completely got me off guard, but
right.
No, it's fascinating.
No, it's a cat and mouse thriller. It's like a Silence of the Lambs. Like, it's the equivalent of like if Silence of the Lambs had, excuse me. That's a good one. It's the equivalent of like if Silence of the Lambs had more of an extended cat and mouse where Jodie Foster's character was trying to track down and capture Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
And then and Hannibal set Jodie Foster's character up for murder, and so now the FBI is trying to pursue her while she's trying to pursue Hannibal. That's like the basic premise of the show. But so it's not fantastical at all. Like, not really. You know, it's more like it's a crime drama, and it's like, you know, a serial killer thriller, whatever, however you want to label it. You know, there's a million movies and TV shows that are this, really.
Yeah.
It's very grounded. It's very serious. If you look at the character designs, they're drawn very realistic. So there's the main guy, Kenma there. There's Johan, that's the serial killer. That's the evil fuck there, who is like the main antagonist and villain in the series. All the characters are drawn. They're not exaggerated at all. Like I said, they could have just filmed this. It didn't. Yeah. No one looks like an anime character in this. That's partly why I love it so much. Is it's just so grounded and realistic. It's a great mature anime. This is a gentleman's anime, if you will. It's like fine wine. You know what I mean? It must be appreciated. It would work really well as a live action adaptation because nothing about it reads anime to begin with.
Yeah.
And this type of genre of film and television is constantly being made. So it would be so easy for them to do this, right? In terms of what it could improve, absolutely nothing. This is the anime is a masterpiece. But I think there is some benefit to it being made because I think the amount of characters and how well written the characters are in this show, it would be a great opportunity for actors to play these roles. Do you know what I mean by that? Like it would be opening it would create opportunity for some actors to take on some really good, well-written characters. So we would it would allow them to do some amazing performances. So that's the benefit to us is we would get to see some actors do some really fucking good acting.
Yeah.
To adapt this, Is this enticing to you? Does this sound interesting at all?
Yeah, a little bit. It's so in terms of cat and mouse, it's kind of making me think of like Death Note, like in the sense that L is chasing light, right?
Yeah. So it's same kind of idea, but just more stretched out, a little bit bigger of a story.
Yeah.
And I mean, eventually in the anime in the story, the police end up going after Light. So it is kind of like a cat and mouse game where it's like Light's going after L, who's going after Light, who the police are also going after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very similar. Yeah. Very similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did you mention the time period this takes place?
I didn't. I think it's like I believe the plot takes place in like Germany and Europe actually. So it's like not in Japan. Interestingly enough, it's more of like a European story. Like I don't think it matters. I think you could just take this story and put it wherever. Like I don't think the locations
honestly, it was kind of giving me like Jack the Ripper vibes. I don't know why.
No, it's not that old. It's not like ye old England, but I think it's like supposed to be the 60s or the 70s.
Okay.
I don't think it's modern era. I could be wrong about that though. But I don't think it matters either.
Yeah.
That's I'm not remembering because to
timeless.
me you could totally do this. You could keep it in the 60s or 70s if you wanted to go more of a period piece. You could bring it into the modern era and it would totally still work. The story works regardless of what time period you put it in for the most part, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're in a time where people do brain surgery, then it works. It's fine. Yeah. The basic plot still works. A surgeon saves a little boy's life who ends up becoming a mass murderer. And then he ends up getting entangled with this person and tries to desperately stop him, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want it as a TV show. It will not work as a film. If you did this as a film, it would be a disservice because the show is perfectly paced and has so many excellent side characters that if you had to trim it down and pare it down into a film, it would be a crime. It would be a disservice.
Okay.
So it has to be a TV show. They have to keep the pace of the original intact, and it would have to be like, I want a big budget AMC or HBO production. And sadly, when I was looking up, like if my picks had animes or not, live action adaptations or not, apparently Guillermo del Toro, do you know who that is, the director?
I do, yeah.
He was trying to get a live action adaptation made with fucking HBO of all people. And I guess they passed on the project. This was like years ago. Like, I don't know, it was like 2014, 2015. And yeah, HBO fucking passed on it. And then I guess he tried shopping it around to other studios and nobody bit.
Wow.
You guys are fucking idiots for passing on this. It is a masterpiece anime. The character, it's all fucking there. There's nothing to adapt. Literally just take this and film it live action and allow actors to go nuts with these roles. Get some really good actors and allow them to put on a fucking masterclass in acting and give them the budget they need to shoot it well so it looks really good. And there you go. You have a hit on your hands. Like, it's a fucking moneymaker. Netflix, adapt this. Stop going for fucking like big shonen shit that looks goofy when you adapt it. You know?
Yeah.
For the love of Christ. That's the end of my list. What's the end of your list?
Right here. Dragon's Dogma.
Wait, Dragon's Dogma, the video game?
The anime adaptation.
Oh, this is a little bit of a cheat. This is interesting. I'll let you do this. I mean, this is your list. You're getting around it.
It's not exactly the video game, right?
Right. No, you're right. If it has an anime adaptation, but it originally was a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so basically, plot.
I mean, it's like me picking Cyberpunk Edge Runners, where it's like, because it's a spin-off of the Cyberpunk video game that happens to have an anime. I'll still let you do it. It's fine. It's fine. What's the basic plot of Dragon's Dogma?
All right, so Ethan sets out to vanquish the dragon that took his heart. But with every demon he battles, he loses more of his humanity.
Riveting stuff, folks. Riveting stuff. I've actually played this video game. It's like it's an action RPG. Yes, the original. This is, I didn't know this existed. Oh, it's Netflix that did this?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks okay. It doesn't look as slick as the Castlevania anime, which was fantastic.
Castlevania's amazing.
Yeah, that.
And I almost put that on my list.
They could do that. Yeah,
they could, but they
pull
won't.
that off. They could pull that off.
They
could totally pull that off.
I mean, threw a little note here because I wrote Castlevania. Producer said it feels wrong
to do it as a live action.
Yeah,
I think Castlevania would work really well as a live action because it's just gothic horror.
Yeah,
I mean, it's literally based on the Universal monsters like Frankenstein and Dracula and all that shit.
Yeah.
So, and now is the time to do that. Like, the Universal Monsters property has been cold for ages, and sorry, I keep burping. And they keep trying to resurrect those iconic characters and build this like dark universe or whatever. Do it through fucking Castlevania. That would be a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would work as live action movies.
No, I'd watch it.
Oh, I absolutely would watch it. There's some fantastical shit in it, but if you downplayed a lot of that, I mean, you could make it work.
Yeah.
You could make vampire hunting work. You could totally make it work. Yeah, that would be fun to watch. But all right, Dragon's Dogma. So, what is the plot again? It's like, I played the game. It didn't hook me.
The dragon took his heart.
Right. That's like right at the beginning of the game.
And now he's trying to get it back.
Okay, yeah.
He's got to kill the dragon that stole his heart.
Yeah, and it's like fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's set in a fantasy world.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
it's an action RPG. Like, the video game is an action role-playing game set in a fantasy, like Dungeons and Dragons-esque world where there's like, you know, wizards and warriors and dragons and bagools and all that kind of bullshit. Yeah.
So, I thought it might work out because, I mean, like, we've got Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's a big budget fantasy is what it would be. Lord of the Rings. Your friends at Amazon, because that's who did the Lord of the Rings TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Amazon Studios could do this.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah.
But as for improvements,
yes,
a big issue I have with the TV series is the animation.
Looks like shit, or it's
like,
just not good.
It could be better.
It doesn't look. I mean, I'm just seeing screenshots. It looks okay. It doesn't look like it's particularly high quality, especially compared to the phenomenal Cyberpunk Edge Runners and Castlevania, both of which were co-Netflix productions, I think.
Have you seen any anime where they've done that like weird thing where in the middle of a fight they'll like cut to a little bit of 3D animation?
Yeah.
It's like, what if that 3D animation was a constant?
Right, I know exactly what you mean. It's just to save. Well, even Blue Lock does it. Every time they zoom out in the field, they look janky. It looks like shit.
It doesn't do it justice.
It's just to save that little bit of money on the animation.
Yeah.
Yep. If we zoom it out and we insert little 3D CG shots, we don't have to hand draw. Like, you know, it adds up to, I don't know, a minute over the whole runtime of the series. But that 1 minute of animation is like a couple $1 million, right? So yeah. So it has a lot of that shit in it.
It's like 100% that. Like that
So
is
it's
the animation
constantly
style.
trying to use the 3D to cut corners wherever they can
Yeah,
to
so,
save money
I
constantly.
don't know, it looks a little awkward. Like, great story. It just looks awkward.
I didn't even know this existed. When the fuck did this come out? Oh, 2020.
Yeah.
3 years ago. I guess when the game was more like relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
What a very specific thing to adapt.
yeah.
Like Dragon's Dogma. Because Dragon's Dogma wasn't a huge hit as a video game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why not do a Witcher anime? I mean, yeah, okay, they did that one live action.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, that would have, why wouldn't you do a bigger property as an anime? I don't know. It's just, I guess because it costs them nothing. And then you just get, like, it's got a built-in plot, and it's got a built-in, like, story structure, and all you have to do is just animate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So money, I guess, is the answer. But you want to see it as a live action because it would be way better.
Yeah.
I think if you're saying the animation isn't great, then I think it would be way better
Yeah.
as a live action.
That's my main selling point is animation.
Do you want it as a film or do you want it as a TV show?
Maybe a TV show. I mean, like, what good is an adventure if you cut out all the steps in the middle?
I hear you on that. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go movie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I'm gonna go film. I want to film a version of this if I had to pick, because I don't know that there's enough substance that it needs a TV show.
Yeah.
I think you could take because the premise you described is so nothing. It's literally just a guy's trying to get his heart back from a dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like that. There you go. That's a film. That's a 2-hour epic thing, 1.5. If you're gonna make it a TV show, you got to have a Game of Thrones level fucking world of characters. And does it have that? I never got into the game.
I haven't actually finished it, but he is like traveling from city to city. So I mean, there are many characters. I'm not sure it'd be on like Game of Thrones level though.
Like that scale.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's what I'm saying. I don't know that it would need that level, but yeah, you want your Amazon high multi-million, $100 million an episode TV show, then that's fine. Not gonna hold it against you. If that's what you want, then you can force your friends at Amazon to make that for you.
Yeah.
I will have my friends at what fucking studio should make this? Paramount. I think Paramount made the Lord of the Rings films. So the film company, I will have them make my film version of this.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't even fucking care to see that. I want a goddamn fucking monster TV show, and I want fucking AD Police Files. I want killer robots, okay?
Yeah.
So I don't even really care about your Dragon's Dogma adaptation. It's just a fantasy adaptation, essentially.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be hard for them to adapt it at all. They make fantasy TV shows. They make fantasy TV shows now. They have the budget to do it now, like Lord of the Rings TV show, and they have and Game of Thrones, obviously. And then they've been making fantasy movies since like the fucking 70s and 80s. So it's definitely not a stretch of the imagination that this would work as a live action piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's funny that you picked this? You know what I almost picked? Have you ever heard of the anime Record of Lodoss War?
No.
Or the video game, because there's also a few video games in this series. You ever heard of this?
It looks familiar.
So it's a phenomenal old school anime. This almost made my list, and then I didn't pick it because I was like, it's a little too, I don't know, it was a little too easy of a pick, I thought. It's basically Dungeons and Dragons, like the anime.
Yeah.
And there is a Dungeons and Dragons movie now, but it is like as standard. It is a phenomenal anime. I own it. It's in my personal collection. It is a standard as basic fantasy as you can get story, though. It's like elves, dark elves, a dragon, dwarves, a cleric, a warrior, a thief. Like it's as basic fantasy as you can get, but it's just done so fucking well.
Yeah.
But that would be that. It almost made my list as a pick. So it's funny that you did end up picking one that was very similar to one I was going to pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was last moment. because I needed a fifth.
The Dragon's Dogma.
Like everything.
And I mean, that's a
picked.
stretch. Yeah, I'll give it to you. If it has an anime, sure, I'll give it to you. But I think it's funny that you picked one that started out as a video game and just happened to have an anime adaptation, right? Like you could have. I thought about doing Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
Yeah.
But I think Cyberpunk Edgerunners have you seen it?
No, I've been meaning to watch it.
Dude, it's so fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's just visual eye candy. Yeah, it's just visual eye candy. Yeah, one of the best CG animes probably ever made.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's all I'll say about it. Not to try to hype it up too much for you though.
Well, I mean, maybe I'll have to bump it up my list a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely bump up your list. And speaking of lists, that's the end of my list and your list now.
Yes.
That's all we got. I don't know. I think we did pretty good. Like we got what do I got? I got a crime thriller, which is very similar. Well, I got a mob crime series, which would be very like Baccano is very similar to your Spy Family.
Yeah.
Psychopaths. I don't think you didn't have a sci-fi show. Did you? No, you didn't have a sci-fi show. But I also didn't have a feudal Japan show like you did with Demon Slayer. We both had a sports anime. I picked all sports animes. 80 Police File again. It's funny. I get now that I'm looking at this. I guess I went sci-fi again there. And whereas you went fantasy, and then I went monster, which is like more of an action. You know, it's a definitely almost a horror thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what else was on your list? What the fuck was the other pick? I don't remember.
Dragon's Dogma, Spy Family, Blue Period.
Blue Period, that was the other one. So then you had just a straight up drama.
Yeah.
That's just a straight up like that could easily be a indie film that's like a tearjerker or some shit like that. Yeah, no, that's like that is a you know what it is? It's a coming of age story.
Yeah.
That's what that is. That's that genre. It's a coming of age type of film. So I think we did really well. And what this shows though is notice what we don't really have on this list. There's no shonen shows other than Demon Slayer, but you defended it well in that it's like it's mostly just sword fighting, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't do the shit they do in Bleach, right? Like they don't do that. They don't have like that kind of abilities per se. Yes? No?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like they can float in the air, right?
Right, exactly. So like it wouldn't look as goofy if they were to just make it sword play. They could adapt it.
Yeah.
You know. But the shit that's not on this list is like shit that is over the top, is just way too fantastical to make to reel in and make look realistic. Not crazy costumes, not crazy anime characters. Grounded.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Is what these shows are. Take note, studios. Start adapting shit that you actually can fucking adapt. Stop picking shit stop picking the shit that is just the most popular and then you go, well, this has a built-in audience, so they'll all want to see this. Listen to what this man said about the live-action One Piece. Were you excited when it got announced?
Not at all.
Right. Because at the end of the day, you didn't give a fuck if it got made, right?
Yep.
Right, because it didn't fucking need it. So the actual anime fans of these series don't give a fuck if you're going to make it or not. So if you are going to do it, and if you're trying to mine anime for all these pre-built stories, stop going for the big, obvious picks because you think they have the built-in audiences and start going for picks that make more sense, where you actually can make something good out of it. That's the end of my fucking rant, and I think that's the end of this episode. Unless you have anything you'd like to add.
No,
we're good.
Yeah,
that's
we're
it.
good.
Okay. There you have it, folks. There's 10-ish animes that would work as a live-action adaptation. Get on that. And check out some of the animes we listed, because I think for the most part, they were all pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, John.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye for now.
See you again.